I think the entire thing is about overcoming grief and moving on after a loss. When he encounters Mary in her deathbed, turning into a kind of moth creature, right? Which is essentially him fusing, because in the flashback, we see that there was a moth on the wall right next to her as she was dying. So in his head, he fused those two images. And that is why Mary appears as a moth, and that is why the moth keeps appearing as a motif. It's just a symptom of his mind not having moved on from that moment. That's why much of it happens in the hospital setting. That's why the monsters are nurses, and so on, right? But then he puts Mary's body in the car and drives off the pier, dying apparently in the end, which I'm not sure how that, like, that's certainly not about somebody moving on from grief, right? Because the way grief works is it's devastating for a while and then it fades. And then after a while you can function normally again, and that is not what happens to James. And I guess maybe we can talk about that too, what that means. He goes with her as opposed to being able to move on. And then we cut to the flashback where they meet at the bus stop. They go through the motions of what they did in the beginning. But then when she gets into his car, instead of driving her to Silent Hill, he turns the car around and just goes the opposite direction, meaning he prevents everything that happened in Silent Hill from happening. And I'm not sure what that symbolizes as well, right? Because it's not about facing your fears. It's not about achieving closure or anything like this. It's taking action to prevent the loss from happening in the first place. His trauma comes from not being able to help her, but like by not going to Silent Hill, he removes her from the cult, which means she will no longer be poisoned, and that means she will probably be fine. But if you try to map it to the real world, there was nothing he could have done to prevent her illness. If my theory is correct and the cult is part of his delusion and it's a metaphor for the illness,
it felt like he was trapped in some sort of permanent delusional nightmare.
The journey into Silent Hill is the nightmare. He really met Mary and they really went to Silent Hill and they really had a relationship there. And then she got sick. He left after she died and it kind of destroyed him, kind of turned into this depressed alcoholic. The fact that he drives away in the end feels like breaking the loop, which means nothing that happened afterwards is now happening. I guess that means he's stuck in a positive delusion now, where he's still not facing reality, but he's kind of just pretending that everything is fine, and he just imagines a life with her where she doesn't die and they don't go to Silent Hill.
Yeah, which is not the truth though. The truth is she's dead, and so he's still stuck in delusion, which is not good. I don't think delusion. I get what you're saying. It's crazy that you think about it. It has a very negative, bad ending, because it's like, you still haven't phased up to the truth. You'd rather live in your delusion rather than the truth.
Yeah, exactly, right? He does not wake up. He does not get confirmation from the therapist in the end that he's better now and that he can live his life again. The experience has in fact destroyed him permanently. It's just less agonizing now.